JD, welcome to my channel. I'd really like to thank my fan base for getting back to me on how much you've appreciated me doing all this watch work over the years. I figured I'd continue with a couple of more watches, maybe figure out how to get into a 20-minute format like I was saying, because a 1 hour of recording, a lot of breaks to do it is not easy, and then also focus is not always easy when you're recording for a full hour, and I can only teach so much, right? So, but I'm going to do it one more time here and we'll see what happens, and I'm hoping this isn't an hour. So this is the movement I had, the Waltham movement I've been working on. It's very nice. I showed you how I put all the setting mechanisms back in place, and just in case you're wondering, I do store it under a lid overnight. In this case I stored it in a platform and a lid. I threw it in there, plus I put the lid on, and I still have it in my movement holder here. So now I want to reassemble this watch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these parts out of the container, so I can get a hold of them all. The container is filled to the brim with parts, and I've got, when you wash the parts, they kind of move around a bit, but not enough to make it a problem. So I want to make sure I pair up any screws that look like they need to be paired up. I don't think there are. These are all blued screws, which is really nice. This is a very old watch. I think it's from the early 1900s, very early 1900s. And again, when you're taking parts out of the basket, just be very careful that you don't ruin the pivots by touching them wrongly. And then the other parts, the same thing, right? Just be very careful when you're removing parts. And I've paired up the various screws with the various wheels so that I have no guessing when it comes time to assembly. Or do I say do assembly? Anyway, I wrote that email the other day because I was kind of get a little depressed having done all these videos over the years and getting people telling me they're great videos, and then I'm getting 200 views or 250 views, and then somebody's picking his butt and stuff and getting 20,000 views, and I'm like, all right, am I wasting my time here doing this or not? That's the only thing that's kind of pissing me off. Is it's not the fan club I have or the people that watch my videos. I'll call it a fan club, but really it's not a fan club. It's a bunch of hobbyists that are very interested in seeing somebody else torture themselves trying to put together a watch. It's not easy. So, and I do pass along a lot of lessons. I am a chatter, so I do chat a lot. So I'm looking to see if I've got any leftovers in any of these things, because I think one of them is filled with stuff, S-T-U-F-F, because I think the palette fork is in one of these somewhere, right? So right now the grandkids are over, and I did my work for the day, and I'm just working part-time now, but I did more than my share the last couple of days, and I was doing some coding in Excel, believe it or not, because I thought it was a great way to solve the problem I was working on, even though it's not what I do. It was a mix of textual logic and formulas, textual logic and finance stuff, and I thought, I could model this baby. So it's kind of the same thinking that you use, I guess, when you're doing watch work. Similar thinking, I think. Now this guy here seems to be stuck a little bit in here, and what I don't want to do is pull on it and then have the pivot. It looks like one pivot is, looks like it's kind of jammed in there a little bit. So I just push on the cage. There we go. I just pushed on the bottom of the cage because it looked like the cage was kind of causing the escapement to get all pushed up in there. So there you go. I brought my phone upstairs as well, just to have a peek at where we were with respect to the phone. So what I want to do is assemble this today to a degree where I just have to deal with the balance. So I'm going to grab this palette fork. I've got the palette fork stuck in here, and I want to be able to reassemble the palette fork as well. And I've got one set of hands here that I can put back in the crystal and put the crystal on top of the movement like that, and then just move the whole thing out of the way. Again, as I can never stress enough, keep everything out of the way. So the first thing I can do here is just put the palette fork back. Would be a brave thing to do. I do have to lower my seat here. And I usually clean the palette fork with Rodico, and then I jam it into some pegwood, or not pegwood, some balsa. It's not called balsa, but man, it behaves just like balsa would. And the palette fork is pretty clean as it is, even though this piece of Rodico I have is pretty dirty as it is. So let me grab another piece of Rodico and see if I can. Let me see, I dropped the palette fork and it disappeared. Where'd it go? Where did it go? There it is. I don't like when that happens, because you can misplace a part and then end up being gone. This palette fork looks pretty darn clean, but I'll jam the mouth of the palette fork into the Rodico and make sure that's good too, just to pick up any dust that might be there. So now it's in pretty good shape. And I want to reassemble the palette fork first, foist. And I know where the, let me think, where's the palette fork go here? Oh my god, am I forgetting something? First wheel, second wheel, third wheel, escapement, palette fork, and then jobby doohickey. So yeah, that's how it goes. And the guard for the palette fork, I believe it should go up, not down. So let me get that in place here. So I believe the palette fork goes right here. Is that right? Seems pretty big, but so be it. There we go. That's absolutely wrong. It's been a long day. Let's try to assemble it the right way. So guys, as I said many times while I'm doing the watch work here, is that you want to make sure that you're not tired when you're doing the watch work. So I know the escapement goes like this, and I just want to make sure they're lined up. There we go, and you can just check that, make sure it's on plane, and it is. That's lined up nicely. And then the bridge for the palette fork, as I've said before in my videos, it's called the bridge because it's got two screws on either side and it bridges the palette fork. It's called the bounce cock when it's basically got one screw and it's on one side. So I'm going to put this down. There's two guide, as you can see, there's two little guide nubbies, and then where the screws go. So that goes down like that. And the palette fork, you just got to make sure that when you put the palette fork down that you don't squish anything. There we go. Put that in place, and actually it looks like it's... The other thing you want to make sure you do is check to make sure the pivots are coming through the jewel hole, because when you screw that down, you'll end up cracking the palette fork when you screw it down. You don't want to do that. And I think I've said that a million times. I think, as somebody was saying the other day, they said, I appreciate your videos over the years, and I think I've got years and years and years of making these videos. And I got a lot of people to thank over the years of helping me with watchmaking and lathe work and you name it. So one of the guys I'd like to thank, who's probably not even going to watch my video, is Old Hippie. So Old Hippie was, he's on the watchrepairtalk.com, and that's where Mark is too. I'll say his name wrong, but Mark Lovett. It's not Lovett, but for now it's close enough. And I'll tighten these screws, but not tighten them. Just get them snug so I can, not snug I guess, just get them in so I can make sure that the pallet fork is free. And I'm going to be able to oil the pallet fork before I reassemble the gears, which is pretty handy. So, and I'll show you what type of oil I use, but that stuff is amazing. It's just amazing. Zing! Now I'll just check and see if I've got movement on the pallet fork. Let me just zoom in a bit here. There we go. That's annoyingly close. That means it's close for you and annoying for me. There we go. See that nice action on the pallet fork there, so I can actually see the pivot coming through the top. And I can also see that the plates, the bridge, is completely flush with the bottom, so I know that there's no issue at all. And now when I move this here, the fork, I got nice action on the pallet fork. Like that. Now I'm going to put the wheels in place, and I usually take a picture of this. I'm not sure if I did this time, but I usually take a picture of what did I do with my phone here? No. Customize. No, don't do that. Oh my god. Oh my god. Going through all my pictures. I take usually a picture. I think I put all the pictures in an album here. And I'm calling the album Donna because it's Donna's watch that I'm fixing. But I didn't put my detailed ones in, darn it. I have to look for the detailed pictures. I'll be right back. Well, there they are. I found them all. Alright, just true to form, the wheels go in the same way they went in. So hang on a second here. What do we got here? We got the fourth wheel, which I think goes in first. It looked crooked from a distance, and I get up straight, up top, up front, up straight. What am I talking about? So the fourth wheel should go right in here, and its gear should mesh with the pinion of the escapement. So let me just put this thing in here. There we go. That wheel goes in there, and then there's an intermediate wheel. And this wheel usually rides high, like that. So it goes in like this. It rides a bit high. Because its wheel merges with the fourth wheel pinion. Try to do all this while talking. And then you've got to put the mainspring in too, so. Every time I put it down, it doesn't want to stay down. So what we're going to do is reassemble the mainspring, lube it up, and get it ready. I lied. I'm going to put a plate down first just to get all this stuff out of the way. So I've got 2 screws. The jewels on this watch are in really good condition. I was pleasantly surprised to find that out, because sometimes you get these super old watches and the jewels are in terrible condition, but in this case they're in super good condition, which I'm impressed with. And my technique for putting the plates down is to first put the plate down like that. Then I'm going to line these screws up because I want to see which ones look the same. Because I want to put the 2 screws that look the same in the plates here, and the 3 in the other. I think they all look the same, but I'm going to do that. Let me have a look here. I think I want to put this one here and this one here on this plate. That is my choice. And what I'll do is I won't screw these in completely, because if I do that, something's going to get broken. And I also need to be able to get the main wheel in there, and then the the mainspring's got to get in underneath. So I'm hoping I don't have to take this plate out again. But I want to make sure this stuff is kind of in place. And I just put this screw in, and what I do is I just screw these in lightly, really lightly. And so there's no pressure on the pivots at all. And then I'm going to play pivot. I'm going to do some pivot stuff. So they're going to move these around. Now I have a pokey device, which looks like that. And I use that for poking. Or adjust my camera here. It wants to sag. Yeah, I use that for poking, and then what I do is I go sideways and I have a look at where the pivot for the escapement is. Sometimes these things just fall in place, other times they don't. Put a little bit of pressure with my finger, but just a very little. Now what I'm going to do is what I do normally is I look at this thing from the side. Because doing it without that is trying, as they say. So I'm going to turn my camera off. You look at it just from the side, and you poke it until the pivots pop through. Alright, after farting with it for 10 minutes, it finally is in place. So I'm just going to hold it up in my hands here and just tighten these screws down just a bit, not completely down, just in case I'm off a bit. And then make sure that I've got movement here. So they're tightened down just a bit, and I just move these around here. And is this all moving? Yes, it is. Yeah, so there's no problem. These are tight, they're in place. And I can actually see the end shake as I'm just taking my screwdriver here and then pushing it just a little bit underneath the gear, and I can actually see the end shake up and down, right? So that's good. So that's in place, and I can tighten this up now, which is a good thing. And I always hate tightening this up because it always feels like I'm going to break something, but it's flat and everything is working fine. So yeah, it's perfect. So that usually scares the heck out of me. So that's in place. Now I've got this wheel here, but I can't put all this together until I've got the mainspring back. So I've got to get that mainspring back in the barrel, and what I want to do is, again, I'm hoping I had a figure for that. So it's usually I'll take a picture of the mainspring, and once again, yes, I have. So there's the mainspring, and I look at the way this mainspring winds, and it winds clockwise from the inside. So if I look at the mainspring like this, it's winding into the barrel, this side of the barrel, like this. So that's winding in clockwise, and so I need to actually wind that into the barrel. There's a notch right here that will hook onto that hook, so that should be a little bit easier, but I do need to get my mainspring winder out and wind that in. This is a little bit of a pain because of the way this barrel works. I don't think there's any other way of doing this. I could try it by hand because that's often done. Let me see if I can do it by hand first and then try it not by hand. And there it is. And you can't walk a mainspring into the barrel with gloves on. I don't care who you are, you can't do that. In this case, the safest way to get it in the barrel was to walk it in. So just hoping that the hook is in place. If I look at this super closely, right, you see that left hand side, and I can look inside and I can actually see the hook through that when I'm looking through my glasses, but you can't see it when you got extra close grubby fingers. So here, this this part of the barrel fits on here like this, and then it hooks into here and in the wide part. So you just put that down and you turn it to hook it in. But I have to figure out which side the arbor goes on first before I do that. Plus I want to put just a little bit of oil on that mainspring. So this is an old mainspring. It's not one of the new ones that are, you know, stainless or anti-magnetic and stainless steel mainsprings. So I put a little bit of the blue oil on here, the 91 something. I just put it in 4 spots, and then it'll find its way around over time. I can hear grandchildren downstairs. They're likely going to run up and say bye to me. So that's that there. Oiled. Hit the camera. So you clean off the oiler. Always clean your oiler off and then put it back after. So everything has got its place. And now, I'll roll this after, but I don't need to oil anything in here. I just need to look at see which way that arbor goes. So the arbor goes flat side down. So what it does is it goes in like this. I'm pretty sure it goes in like this. Like that. And then this goes on top like this. And I'm going to have to pick it up to roll it in, but you just take this like this, and I know it hooks in. So I've got to roll it in and look where the hook is first, right? So where's the hook? Where is the hook, Margaret? So there's the hook there, and there's the other hook. And it should be able to just put it in. It should grab it. Shouldn't be that difficult. Yeah, let me see if I can do that here. Let me see. I gotta do. I'm off camera, which is. It's like I said before. It's really tough making these videos and staying on camera because you've got to roll crap around, and these particular mainsprings are not the easiest to get back in. They don't just fall into place like you think they would. I think this one here also has a flat part that you have to worry about. Yeah, I'm going to have a look at this to make sure this is correct, but the winding part is on the top here. I can hear the garage door opening. Yeah, I got to check this out because I think there's something funky going on here. Let me think here. I don't know whether that arbor goes in before you actually pull that thing out. Let me have a look here. I gotta look again because it just doesn't look sensible. This is why it takes a long time. There's no manuals on this. Now here's the photo I have here. So it looks like this part of the arbor goes all the way down in. So this might get put together first, and then the arbor goes in straight in. So let me get that back up again. Yeah, I think this might go together first and the arbor goes straight in. So I think it's kind of, yeah. You zoom in on that. Yeah, that seems the way it seems to be the way it works, eh? So it sits on the top, which means this goes together and then I put the arbor in. Oh my God. Nothing is easy with mainsprings, I tell you. Every one of them is different too. That's a lot of watchmakers actually won't put the mainspring together. Alright, so that's working. I just wound it up just a little tiny bit here. Push down on that here like that. You can see it unwinding, and then this goes in like this, right, and goes all the way through. So a needle pulling thread. So if I put the this wheel in next, I think my wife is gone with their grandchildren, and there we go. I was having some fun there. That's what you call fun, right? And then slide this in like this. And then this arbor goes in straight in like this. Now, I think I'll put a little bit of oil on that just to make sure we get the least amount of friction possible. And I'll just put it on the edge. And again, I'm using the blue oil. So blue oil. It's not blue oiler, I'm using the red oil. So I'm using the Bergeron. Some French out there. Let me look at the number of that oil. It's not the 9110, it is the Bergeron 9104. Or the HP 1300 9104, the Bergeron 9104 oil. So, again, thanks for all the feedback on my attempt to get out of watchmaking here. I guess I'm just super busy now, and it's very difficult to get anything done while you're busy. Am I going to be able to slip that in? There it is. I know it's square on the other side, so it has to contact the bottom part of this. So anyway, it's super busy in the summertime. I got 4 watches on the bench right now. I got one of them is done and just running, and that's the one I need to do. I regulated it. I took out the timing washers that were on the balance because it was some crazy son of a gun. I'll keep this clean here. Some crazy son of a gun put in timing washers when he didn't need to have it. So if he doesn't put timing washers in, and then no wonder the damn thing was running too slow. And I was trying everything to get it done, and then from the watch repair blog, Nickel Silver told me, and he's been in the business his whole life. So he got my little funky little things on again. I'm getting used to these. Nickel Silver said, "Hey, JD, the hell are you doing with those things?" I said, "I don't know. I'm stupid." I said, "Yeah, I think I need to take out that jobby-do thingamajobby hickey that was recommended by somebody else." I just put this back in here nicely. See if this will fall into place for me. Make my day easy. Come on. Just fall in. Just like that. There we go. Look at that. And once I let it fall in, I'm just going to check and see if it's flat everywhere, but just like before, don't tighten anything down until you're ready to, right? So anyway, so I did remove the washers, and oh my god, the thing sped up like crazy. And now it's sped up so much because I also had a problem with the regulator pins. The regulator pins were too far apart, which makes it super duper hard to time a watch when the regulator pins are not almost snug against the hairspring. So I had to adjust the regulator pins, which I did, and that gave me probably 200 seconds per day increase in speed when I did that. If I want to slow it down, I'll just take those regulator pins and widen them, but no need now. N. There we go. And I'm not tightening these yet until I see something's actually working. So anyway, once I did that, I got the the watch regulated, but I had to make it put the actual regulator arm to super slow, right? And now I want it to be somewhere in the middle. So there we go. So that's in now. And can I see a gap? I don't think there's a gap there. No, it looks pretty good. So that's good. Now I want to put some more pieces together here. So let's put in this wheel here. This should be wheelie fun. Yeah, and what I'm going to do here, because I'm a really good guy, is I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that gear. Oil on the gear, da, 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 da. And then it's on this gear here, and I just want to put it in like one or two places. And again, this oil spreads around real easy. I'll put a little more. That'd be more generous than I. You don't want to put. If you put too much oil, it finds itself into other places in the watch, and you don't want to do that. So, but I do want to put that because it's going to mesh with that gear on the bottom. And yeah, so this goes in like this, like that. And this goes in like this, like this. Well, I think it does anyway. Never ends. It never ends. Vintage watch repair. Alright, so that's in place there. That's good there. That's pretty much good there. Then I put this on here and make sure it goes on the right way. Like that. Why does this feel like it could go down lower? Because it's not lined up properly, that's why. Let me pull this off for a second here. See if I got an issue. This lines up with this. Oh my God. Let me poke this out here. That should not be tight. Yeah, it's got to go like that. So this here would go in over that other piece, and then the other piece goes down next. So I do need to put this piece in first, like that. That's perfect. And then this piece goes in right over the top. But that screw that's right there is integrated into it. So there it is there. And then this piece here goes in right over the top of that. Like that. It's almost perfect. And then this piece, hope you folks are seeing all this. Let me just put a little light on the situation. This goes in like this, and I can't remember whether this is a reverse screw or not. I don't think it is. I think this is not a reverse screw, but I'm going to bring this, my device holder in here. Nope, it's not a reverse screw. I was right. There we go. Tighten that up, and then if you tighten it too much, you're going to end up with a worse problem. So it's super loose right now, as you can see. So if we move that, you can see how nice and loose that is, even though this is tight. So it's meant to be that way. And then the mainspring, I have to put this in, and it goes square because it actually has to wind it, right? So I just put it in like that. And I got to get the click spring out of the way. So just, you can use your tweezers to do that and just move it out of the way and then manipulate that mainspring into position. Is that good there? No, it's still not lined up. There we go. There we go. Whenever you hear clicks in repairing watches or putting reassembly stuff, it usually means stuff is good. And then this goes on like this. And then I need to put this screw in. And this is for sure clockwise. This is for sure righty-tighty. And then I can actually wind the watch just a bit with the screw. Just hang on a second till I tighten the screw up a bit, and then wind the watch like that. So, which is nice, and it's hooked. And now I'm going to get a really close-up of the test. All right, this is the test. So I put a little wind on the watch by winding the ratchet wheel, and then after I've done that, I just have to touch the pallet fork and see if it goes back and forth. And it does. And I see that snapping back and forth. That means that we're in business. Yeah, it's perfect. And you just have to touch it. You can use a toothpick. I'm using this little probe. That's good. Now the other thing I want to do is make sure, I just need to put a little bit of this oil. This is the 9415 Mobius 9415 oil. I'm not sure if that'll focus for you. Is that going to focus? 9415. Well, you can see it well enough. There we go. Now this stuff here is gold, Jerry. It's gold. You just, what you do with this, I could have done it before I reassembled some of this, but you can do it after too, right? Is you want to have the smallest little amount of this on the pallet, on the jewels of the pallet fork. And what this does is it's a type of oil that when under compression it helps lubricate for release. And so what I do here is I go in like this and I put some on right here. Like that, and that's that one there, and then this one is released, so now I can put a little bit more on here. I got a lot on here, but I don't want to put it all on. Just hang on a second till I rub some of that off. You don't want too much on there because that can cause, it just gets too, it's just ridiculous. There we go. That's good right there. And that'll spread to all the different feet of the watch. Now I've seen a watch amplitude really go up with this stuff, and it's the friction between the legs of the escapement and the actual jewels in the pallet fork. So once you've done that, did I say so again? I think I did. Once you've done that, then you just have to move that. You can move the pallet fork back and forth a few times just by, you know, just touching it. So you touch it back a few times. And this is what fundamentally the impulse jewel does. So alright, so that's good. And now the other test I want to do here is I want to put a bench winder in here and see if it winds. Because it should. That's a bench key. that winds nicely. And when I push in like this, when I let it go, it should be actually changing the time, which it might be. I just can't see it doing that because my thingamajobby doohickey is out. So I have to put it together to make sure that's working properly. And then I have the cannon pinion to install, and I also have to install. There's that funky spring that I showed you earlier, right? So on this side I've got the cannon pinion, but I've got you got to keep your eyes out that you don't want to damage the fourth wheel pivot, because that's where the spring goes through. So I want to put the cannon pinion on here, and this one it should actually be really easy to put on, and I want to put on the minute wheel. Now I should just be able to push this on without a problem, but I'll be a good boy. So what I'm going to do, which I do sometimes, is I get a pivot, or a stake from the staking set. I'm just going to grab one randomly and see if it's the right size. That probably isn't. Let me see. The flashlight. I'm going to grab this stake right here. So I got this stake here, and I'm going to see if that fits over the cannon pinion. It does, but it fits too loose. So I'm going to get another stake and use that to push down the cannon pinion. Alright, I've picked a stake that just fits over the cannon pinion, and this just separates the force around the gear of the cannon pinion. So you can push it down with your tweezers like that, but this is probably a safer way of pushing it down, because you know that it's kind of uniform across the cannon pinion. So when I push it down like that, it goes straight down like that, and I'm looking at it and oh my god, what a great job. So that is the best way of doing it. I just poke this little guy with a little Rodico on the end, because I think I saw something. So I do that like this, and then I can put the I just want to test this because I don't think I'll leave it in here, but I can put the hour wheel in, the minute wheel in, and then make sure that's meshing, and then put the hour wheel in and make sure that's meshing, and normally you would have this here and there too, so which keeps the face, it allows the face to push down on the hour wheel. So I'm just gonna do a little test here and see if it actually turns any of this stuff. Hopefully it does, otherwise I gotta disassemble stuff. Come on, turn it. It needs to catch. Is that in place? Hopefully it's in place. Maybe everything's got to be down a certain way for it to work. Yeah, I need to put a little pressure on this here. I don't want to have to take apart this whole mechanism again, because that would be a failure, a monumental failure. Take this off for a second, see if this is moving at all. No, I gotta test this. It's working nicely to wind it, and then when I release it, it goes back into position, and it should wind this wheel here when it goes back. It seems to be not wanting to do that. So I gotta look at that and solve that problem. Oh yeah, it's one problem after another with watches. Let me just test that again, because everything is in place correctly. This just needs to be over this way more. See how that works there? Like that. Just means that this arm here, that's on the inside, needed to be pushed over more. And I don't know why it's not pushing over. I'll have to look at that spring, because that spring might be what the problem is. Because that should push way over the other side, which means it's pushing this way, right? So there may have to be some disassembly of this unit here to make sure that's all working properly, because it should turn that without an issue. Yeah, it's this spring right here, maybe not in far enough or something. Not quite sure what the problem is. Not quite sure. Let me just push it from this side and see if I get better action on the spring. Great action, except the wheel's out. Brilliant. Just brilliant. I think I'm going to have to turn this away just a bit, because you're going to miss all the action here. I think I'm going to publish this video, and then I'm going to fart with this and figure out what's going on. There we go. It was the return on this, so... yeah, that definitely needs to be pushed. It needs to go this way more. Like that, which means this spring here needs to go that way more, which would be that way more. And yeah, I gotta have a look at this. So this I may have to disassemble this to make sure that that spring is providing the right pressure on this watch, eh? Because right now I gotta watch that I don't put any pressure on the let me just get all this stuff out of the way before I wreck something. Yeah, I may have to disassemble it. That's very tricky. It's like with vintage watches, as you guys know. Usually that's why when you charge somebody to repair a watch, you're not going to get half the money that it took you to actually work on a damn thing. Yeah, it needs to go this way more. This way, which would be this way underneath, which would be the other way. So I'm not sure if the spring is causing the issue and it's out of whack. It needs to move over more or something like that, maybe? I'm not sure. Let me look and see what that does. That's really good, except does it turn that wheel? Diagnosis 1000. I don't want to take it all apart again, but I will if I have to. If that happens, then I'm dead for a week. Only because it's it's so close to working. It's turning ever so slightly. Just dump this gear again, maybe, and look at this. Look at the spring again. It went back to where it was. So I'm not sure. Let me put this in here. What I don't want to do is have this spring fly out on me here, but I know there's a way of putting it in, and I just don't know if I snapped it in properly. That's in pretty far now. Oh no, that's no good. There, that's... The spring is like all the way in. I don't think that's right though. I think something's wrong there, because I don't think it has to go that far in. Because in this case here, it's... Let me just put this down like this, because I know that spring's going to fly out on me and I'm going to lose it. That's not too bad there. That somehow works. I think that might be it. Let me see. That's not it. I need to do some more diagnosis here. Let's figure out exactly how this spring works. Well, it's turning it, but it seems to want to. There's not enough pressure pushing back on it the other way, even though it is turning it. So the only other thing I can do is pull that spring out and put it in the other way and see if that works, because that might be the situation. If I have to pull that out and put it in the other way, do I have to take the whole watch apart? That's the question. Maybe yes, maybe no. Because I thought I had the spring in the correct way. Let me see if I can pull this out here. That's the spring there. If I turn that around, like this. And try that. I'm not sure if I can even get it in here. This is a tricky one, man. This is a tricky one. All right, the spring is in now. Is that correct now, or is it not in? Let me see what this looks like. This looks more positive, I think. Now I'll put the gear in. Where's the bloody gear? There it is. Now that was a mistake because I should have made sure that gear was out of the way, because you can, like I said, you can break that gear if you put it in the wrong way. It's amazing, like the guys that used to work in these factories, in the Waltham factories, they did like tons of watches, so they would, yeah, what are you talking about? This is easy. There we go. Working. If I press it this way, it winds. I let go. It changes the time. Perfect. So I fixed it, so I'm going to stop the video for now. That's good enough for now. I'm going to put this baby, I'm going to put the hour wheel, take the wheel out again. Or the minute wheel, take the minute wheel out again. Try to take the minute wheel out again. Come on, fall out. I just don't want to lose it. You know what? You know what? I think I'm just going to leave the minute wheel in there. And I'll leave the movement sitting on the Myers movement holder. Actually, I can just rest it down because I don't need to put it in the Myers movement holder. But I want to rest that down. And I think I'll just find out how much time I have before dinner. I might be able to put the face back on. Alright, that was a bad boy for 2 seconds there. So I do have exactly 32 minutes before supper. And if my wife is very nice to let me do this, well, she's preparing the most amazing chicken for supper. I'm going to clean up the watch face just a tad here. Get some of the, this watch face though is in pretty good condition. It's nothing that seems to be scaring me. So it's in good condition. To make sure you don't put any undue pressure on the face itself while you're doing this, because you could ruin it. So I'm just looking at the reflection to see if there's any obvious prints or stuff I can get rid of with the Rodico. Now I don't clean watch faces any other way. I remember years ago I put a watch face in some denture cleaner, and it cleaned the watch face all right. It got rid of it completely. So I'm going to produce a video right after I've done this. Yeah, these are good. The dial washer is in place, and the pivot for the second hand should be right here at the 4 o'clock position, or at the 4th wheel position, right there. So I can come down and just lay that down right on top. I'm just gonna line things up with my fingies, keep everything out of the way. I use the edge of my fingers there, but that doesn't matter too much. That should go down just like that. Yes, no, other. No, that's not right. Just let me make sure it's on perfectly, right? Which means I gotta look at that friggin' 4th wheel pivot as I go down. Oh, there it is. Perfect. And you can, as you place it down, you can actually see the 4th wheel pivot. So now that I've got it in place, it's got some security. I'm going to tighten the dial screws on this a bit, right? And the good thing with this watch is that it's sunken in. The dial itself is kind of sunken in. So I can tighten these dial screws like this. And you don't need to super tighten them, because they got nowhere to go. You just want to make sure the dial is down, and then you can tighten the screws. if you super tighten them, the next watchmaker is going to have a hell of a time trying to get this thing off. So once again, you people that have been watching my videos over the years have convinced me to keep going here. And I was ready to give up the ghost, as they say, right? And because I do, as you can see, there's a lot of work involved in making a video like this. Now, if I edited it, I end up editing out all the stupid comments as well. And I think you guys like the stupid comments. So you're like, JD, keep up with the stupid comments. So now all I need to do now is put the dial or the balance back in. And I can't remember whether I cleaned it or not. I think I did. It's a couple of watches ago. And let me just clean this up a bit, because I don't think I think I'm gonna put the balance and just rest this like that. And there it is, and that's in really good condition right now. So I just have to slide the balance in. This thing should be working fine, and then reassemble the watch. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to do it later. So we're going to put this on. I think I'll wake up really early in the morning and do this, and then I'll make another video on that. But this is, you know, I hopefully you're not angry that I'm not going to completely reassemble this watch, but I've reassembled a boatload of watches. So the main point here was that spring needed to be in the other way, and they look exactly the same on both sides. So I can leave this watch actually in this position, and I can actually leave it inside of a holder like this, like that, and then put this on top like this, and that way I'm not putting a dent in my Bergeron spongy holder. And then tomorrow I still have to put the dust ring on here, but I'll wait till I get the balance in before I install the dust ring, because I've got the other parts are right here, friends. There they are there. So not much left to do. So the balance is in pretty good condition. I think again, I gotta look and see if I cleaned it or not. I can't remember whether I cleaned it or not, but I'll leave everything like this because I will produce a video before dinner and then put it online, and then hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And for now, I guess I'm continuing to record. The excitement is incredible. I know it. I just know it. I wrote it. There you go. That's the watchmaker's table here. This is where all the action happens, right here. So that's it. That's a beautiful dial. So you saw the trick there. What I had to do is take that spring and actually move it the other way. And the spring looks exactly the same in both ways. And I was pretty sure I had it right, but I didn't. So now it is right, and it's ready to rock and roll. And then we'll go from there. I'll put the I got to put the stuff back together again. So the other thing I need to do, and I just remembered that, is I need to take those dial screws out, take the face off, and put a bit of oil on the other side of the jewel holes. You idiot! That's not a big deal. It'll take 2 seconds to take that off and do that. Thanks for watching my videos. This is a very nice old Waltham. We'll have this back together probably tomorrow.